Well, hello. This is Bishop Ed Udell, and I'm bringing you another story on world mission. This was written by Thomas R. Chamara in Union Gospel Press. Listen up. In this week's lesson text, it is revealed that Achan, who was of the tribe of Judah, sinned against the Lord by keeping for himself a few of the items that had been set apart for the Lord as a result of the Israelite victory over the city of Jericho and its inhabitants. Achan's disobedience had consequently, not only for him and his family, but also for the entire nation of Israel. You can compare that in Joshua chapter 7, verse 12. This week's lesson text stark yet honest revelation of personal defeat invites the question of how the body of Christ deals with personal failure and defeat in the lives of Christian leaders, especially those who are entrusted with the responsibility of spreading the gospel. The rest of this article will present biblical principles related to this question. First, it is imperative that all believers, but especially Christian leaders, including missionaries, recognize the reality of the possibility of personal defeat. The Bible is replete with examples of leaders who miserably fail the Lord through personal acts of disobedience. Moses, for example, disobeyed the Lord by striking a rock in anger rather than speaking to it, thus detracting from the Lord's glory and causing his own exclusion from entering the promised land. That's found in the book of Numbers, chapter 20, verses 1 through 14. David, whom God described as, quote, a man after my own heart, unquote, in Acts chapter 13, verse 22. David was guilty of committing adultery with Uriah's wife, Bathsheba, who became pregnant with David's child. David then tried to cover up the affair by arranging to have Uriah killed. Compare that in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 1 through 27. The reality is that God's servants often face the unrelenting pressures of ministry and do not always choose the path of personal victory. Second, it is also imperative that Christian leaders embrace the hope that no matter how deep the humiliation and guilt of personal defeat, God does not abandon his servants. There are several things a missionary can do to experience forgiveness and ministry recovery. The Christian servant must believe that God still loves him and that his promises, quote, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee, unquote, or in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, is absolutely true. The missionary must also realize that even though God may set him aside for a time as a consequence of his sin, he probably still has a future place of ministry prepared for him. Until that time comes, the missionary should be patient and not give up on God. He should focus instead on faithful relationships in the body of Christ that foster hope and healing. Finally, imperative believe the part of answering to a Christian leader who has experienced personal defeat. Even though the calling of a missionary is extraordinary, the needs of a missionary are common to man, according to Acts chapter 14, verse 15. The most powerful and vitally important spiritual discipline believers can engage in on behalf of God's servant, fallen or otherwise, is prayer. Believers should pray that the struggling missionary would experience the joy and freedom of personal confession according to 1 John chapter 1, verses 5 through 9. Moreover, believers should pray that the missionary would gain wisdom to understand and embrace God's purpose and plan for his life according to Colossians chapter 1, verse 9. Our prayer concern should be that the missionary's heart would remain sensitive to the spiritual needs of lost people. Thank you, Thomas R. Chamara in Union Gospel Press. We'll have more for you the next time. May God bless you all. Really good.